Welcome to this week's episode of Analyzing Chazal. This week we'll be analyzing a Rashi on this week's Parsha, Parshas Miketz. Let's start with the Pasuk. Perek Mem Aleph, Pasuk Yud Beis. The Pasuk says as follows: V'shami tanu na'ar ivri, eved l'sar tamachim, v'nesaper lo, v'yifter lanu es chalomoseinu, ish kachalomo pasar. There was with us a young Jewish boy who was a servant of one of the government ministers, and we told him our dreams, and he interpreted our dreams correctly. The explanation of the Pasuk. The Pasuk is explaining that the butler of Paro was telling Paro about his experience in jail, where he and the baker of Paro had dreams which were correctly interpreted by Yosef, who was a young Jewish slave of the government minister. Rashi. Arurim harishayim she'ena tovasam shlema mazkiro bilashon bizayon. Cursed are the evil people, that the good deeds they perform are never completely good, as the butler described Yosef in very unflattering terms to Paro. The explanation of Rashi. Rashi is explaining that the evil of a wicked person has no bounds, and even when he is trying to do something good for someone, he cannot do so in a completely good way, like the butler, who even when trying to help Yosef, described him in a degrading fashion. The type of question we'll be using today is one where a person is trying to do something, and in the end they do something that contradicts the result they want to achieve. Let's pause for a moment with the type of question we'll be using and the information you already have. Can you come up with a question yourself? Okay, here's the question. It seems in Rashi that the butler told Paro about Yosef because he actually remembered Yosef's request to help him get out of jail and truly wanted to help him and would not have done it just to help Paro. This being the case, how is it possible that the butler, who was trying to help Yosef, would introduce who he was in such a degrading manner, almost assuring that Paro would not take him out of jail? This is the opposite of what he was trying to do. The answer. As we always say, the answer comes from within the question, which was how is it possible that the butler, who truly wanted to help Yosef, would describe him to Paro in such degrading terms? The answer can be that we do not appreciate how a person's view and the way they feel deep in their heart about someone else will impact the way they talk about him, even in a situation where he does not want to talk badly about him. This is what happened to the butler. He harbored this degrading view of Yosef deep in his heart, and as he spoke, those feelings rose to the surface and came out when he was describing Yosef, even though at that time he had no interest in describing Yosef in that manner. The practical application. We must know that the feelings we have towards a person deep in our heart, if we are not careful, can easily come out when we are talking about him, even if we have no intention of mentioning these feelings in the conversation, leading to potential issues of prohibited speech and potentially to arguments with him. We need to try to wipe any bad feelings we have towards people from our heart. And until we can do that, to be so supremely careful that if we must talk about someone, that we only say good things. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and we'll see you next week for Parshas Vayigash.